everybody. Welcome back to the Fallacious Truth. I've got something a little different for everybody today. I have a question. My question is simply this. Many people believe they have rights in society. There are those who believe one thing is a right, and other people who believe that what one considers a right is a privilege, and vice versa. Not everybody can agree on what is or isn't a right in today's society. With the exception of one, I believe there's one thing that everybody can agree is not only a right, but it is essential for the functioning of a society. It's the one thing that governments and tyrants look to rein in on, look to hold back, look to keep for themselves. It's a concept that many want, but very few truly have. It's an ideal that truly makes the human condition worth living. It's an ideal that many commonly share and will do almost anything to obtain. And throughout history, it is the most costly of conditions. It is the most costly of rights to affirm. It is the singularly most costly right to defend and to keep. Nations have gone to war over this. People have treated other people horribly due to the lack of this. The most costly right. This conditional concept that costs people the most is the ideal of freedom, the ideal of liberty, the ideal that someone does not own you. And my friends, throughout the ages, what is the one thing, what is the one resource, if you will, what is the one currency that is traded for this? Historically speaking, it is the blood of men. It's the blood of husbands, it's the blood of fathers, it's the blood of brothers, it's the blood of young boys. It's the blood of teenagers. It's the blood of sons. As I said in my previous video, it is the blood of the most expendable resource this world has ever known. That resource isn't the blood of women. It's not the blood of mothers. It's not the blood of wives. It's not the blood of sisters or young daughters. But it's the blood of men. Men young and old. Men rich and poor. It is the blood of men that is the most expendable resource that this world has ever known. And it is this resource alone that has been used throughout the ages to obtain freedom, to buy freedom. Freedom isn't bought with tangible items. Freedom is bought with the precious blood of men. And once that blood is shed, once that blood is gone, the man who gave it is no more. He is but a memory that will be lost to time. And so, because of the concept of freedom, my question is simply this. Where did equality go? As I've said before, there isn't a single right or privilege legally that a man has over a woman, but there are many rights and legal privileges that women have over men. Where's the equality in that? You see, women only care about equality when that equality doesn't mess up the status quo. As long as that equality still leaves them in comfort. As long as that equality means someone else can put themselves on the line. But no, not them, of course. You know, here in the West, equality to a woman means this. It means all of the positive consequences without any of the negative consequences. And any negative consequences that do come about, they need to be either mitigated or pushed off onto somebody else. And before anybody says anything, yes, I know there are women who fight and die and willingly go to battle for their freedom, for the freedom of their family, and the liberty of their country. Believe me, I know this. I'm not belittling them, nor am I negating their sacrifice. But historically speaking of the man, I am speaking historically. Hundreds of millions have died throughout the entire world for that concept of liberty, for that concept of freedom, that concept that costs the most expensive of currency, which is the blood of a man, either conscripted or willingly. It is still the man that must put himself in harm's way or lay down his life. So where does equality fit into all this? No, quite honestly, it doesn't. It doesn't fit in anywhere with this because there is no equality in what is happening now. There is no equality unless that equality gives women a certain advantage, gives them a certain upper hand, or keeps them out of harm's way. You know, women are all for equality until they have to stick their neck out for something, until they have to come face to face with what equality actually is. You see, modern women don't want equality. They actually attained equality decades ago. Modern women nowadays, they want things tailored for their likes and dislikes. rights. They want to have all of the advantages. They want to have none of the consequences. And when a consequence does come up, and it is a negative consequence, it is the fault of a man. It is never their fault. In their own eyes, they do absolutely no wrong. Everything can be justified, and they can absolve themselves just about anything. So let's use the example of what's going on in Ukraine. What was decreed, if you will, just a few days ago? It was decreed that any able-bodied man ages 18 to 60 must stay behind and is not allowed to leave their country to protect or be with their family. They must protect the country. This decree didn't call for women to do this. This decree didn't call for children to do this. This decree called for men and men alone, and really young men and even boys to do this. Because you know that there's boys over there that are taking up arms to protect their families, to protect their country, to protect their wives, their sisters, and their daughters. You know, normally I would say, fine, you want equality? Great, go for it. It's really no skin off my back. But in this case, I'm going to say something different. I'm going to say, if you want equality, you need to be willing to die like a man in order to obtain it, because every man over in Ukraine is expected to die for their equality, as it were. Every man here in the United States must register with the Selective Service. They must volunteer themselves to die to have the right to vote in this country. You see, if you want true equality, you need to meet the standards that men are forced to meet, not the lowered standards that women are privileged to meet. And make no mistake, it is absolutely a privilege to be afforded the same rights without having to pay the same sacrifice. You know, if you think about it, ever since man first fought his fellow man, ever since kings, ever since prime ministers, ever since dictators, tyrants, and presidents alike, ever since a ruling authority came to power and controlled the resources of a nation, the one resource that has always been expendable and always been used as a weapon are men. They have always been the ones to fight. They have always been the ones to die. Die for their family, die for a cause, die for their beliefs, die for their liberty, their freedoms. But it has always been men that have heeded that call, either by volunteering or by force. It has still been men that have heeded that call, and women who have always been kept safe. But you see, I'm a traditional guy. I believe that there are vast and fundamental differences between men and women here. I believe that there are things that men were built for that women simply were not, at least not as effectively and as efficiently. And the converse is also true. You know, governments and modern societies want to strip away the roles of men and women. They want to blend them in a sort of collective, but that collective doesn't work. That collective doesn't mesh together because fundamentally we are different at our cores. Throughout time, for thousands of years, this world, societies, the family unit, and individuals have relied on their existence because of the roles that men and women play in societies, because of the role that they play for each other. There's a reason why opposites attract folks. There's a reason why women look for masculinity and men look for femininity. There's that basic biological drive to look for our opposite. You know, as much as this may piss off the woke progressive types, I've got a newsflash for you. Men are not designed to be women, and women are not designed to be men. Ever since this concept has come into existence, especially in the West, we have been on a steady decline. And those who suffer most, this is going to sound very cliche, but those who suffer the most are children. Because now children grow up in a dysfunctional family unit, if they even grow up in a family unit at all. Young boys and girls are raised without their fathers at the behest of the mother. It's absolutely abhorrent. A child's father is the greatest asset in that child's life, especially when they're growing up. That's because we aren't the same. We have different roles to play. You see, a mother is going to love and nurture, not because they choose to, but because it's instinctual to them. It's almost as if it's been designed into them from the very start to love and nurture small children, and that is so vitally important. So when you have women choosing to be single mothers, when you have women choosing to act like boss babes, they are defying that biological instinct for something else. They are negating the needs of their children by doing this. And even more importantly, the forced single motherhood by the removal of the father in the home, either at the behest of the mother forcibly by the government. As I said earlier, it's one of the worst things you could do to a child ever. A child needs a father figure. A child needs that firm hand, that guidance. A child needs their father to keep them on the straight and narrow. You know, when the father is present in the home, statistics prove that boys are kept out of the prison system. And statistics also show that girls, by and large, don't end up putting themselves in compromising positions. Now, does that happen anyway? Yes, of course, but as a whole, largely speaking, the father mitigates all of that. Because as I said earlier, the father is the firm hand, the father is the teacher. The father builds on the nurturing of the mother to teach the son or the daughter what they need to know in life. And with the advent of modern society, with the advent of this woke culture, the family that has brought up so many generations of young people, successfully, I might add, is being destroyed. Single motherhood is destroying the future generations of this country and others in the West. And we have got to put a stop to it. And with men being the most expendable resource ever known to man, it just makes that all the easier for him. It just makes this problem all the more prevalent. So in many instances, it's truly a double-edged sword. On one hand, men willingly fight and die for their family, for their country, for their homes, for their liberty and freedoms. It's innate in us. It's built into us. It's instinctual. We are designed, and it is instinctual for us to protect to the very end. You know, ladies, until you've been forced to meet the same standards of equality as men, you have nothing whatsoever to ever complain about, because the threshold for the standard that we meet is so vastly different. So in truth, you need to pick one or the other. You need to choose one way or the other. You can't have it both. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. Not only is it destroying our society, not only is it destroying the family unit, but it represents an insatiable entitlement attitude that is exclusive to one gender. And I'll give you a hint, it's not men. To my knowledge, at no other time in recorded history have women expected everything, expected their likes and dislikes to be tailored to them at the behest of someone else at the expense of men. And it's having such a negative influence on Western culture that my guess is in one generation, two at the most, we won't even recognize this country anymore. We won't even recognize Western culture anymore. We won't recognize the family unit anymore. We won't recognize men as men and women as women, because we're already starting to not do that. However you feel, that's what you claim to be. Whatever you want to be, that's how you make yourself feel you are, and you can claim yourself to be it. And biology be damned. I hope it's not too late to reverse this. I hope in the future that we can learn from these terrible mistakes that not only are voluntarily being made, but are being forced upon us. The importances of the differences of men and women need to be recognized. And this tailored equality, it has got to stop. Thank you for joining me for the Fallacious Truth. If you enjoyed this content, if you want to hear more like it, please like, share, and subscribe, as I would greatly appreciate it. I've put out close to 30 videos so far. I've talked about how to handle yourself if you're a man in divorce, how to prepare for essentially a war that will come when you go to divorce your soon-to-be ex for whatever reason. There's a lot of essential information in that will help you if and when the time comes. I've got many other videos as well too, so once again, please like, share, and subscribe, and like I said, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you and take care.